Welcome, everyone. I am happy to have your participation on our today's webinar. First of all, please, some details regarding housekeeping. Turn off your cameras to save a bandwidth, so we are all okay with the quality of internet connection, and mute your microphones. So just my microphone is only the one which is on our webinar today. So no other participants are disturbing the rest of the group. So please be so organized and join me in doing these basic settings today. I'm also going to show you the agenda we have prepared for today. We are going to have some introduction about our program today, and topic of today, which is workplace reservation solution, touchONE. I'm going to tell you some details about how it works, what is necessary to have, what particular steps you have to follow, like Office 365 or Microsoft 365 today, or Microsoft Exchange configurations. Then some tricks about mechanical installation, connection of all units together. And then we will have a focus on some steps going through the setup. So I show you some tricks how to do setup of workplace reservation solution in touchONE family. I will describe particular units used in this solution, and in the end, I share with you some information on resources and some other supporting tools. And in the end, we will do some Q&A section and wrap up. I expect that we will be no longer than 1.5 hours, which is the schedule for us today. I'm also informing all of you that I do recording of our webinar today. So later I will send you today a follow-up email with the link to cloud repository where you can download today's presentation, all other materials dedicated to workplace reservation solution in touchONE, as well recording from our webinar today. So no worries if you need to leave our session sooner. You will get all of this information into your inbox. Now again, please join me and turn off your cameras and mute your microphones. So we are all okay on our session today, and we will learn as much as we can. I probably forgot my introduction. My name is Ondrej Sedlacek, and I work at Q as a sales guy. So I'm responsible to drive a business all around the globe, and I love to use this opportunity when I'm not traveling, because our very well-known COVID-19 affair. So I have a much more time to stay in my regular office or home office, and I really appreciate to learn more through experience when I'm preparing all of these webinars for you guys. So now let's go to see some introduction of a touchONE very briefly. What touchONE is, or why we are talking about a touchONE or reservation solution itself. First of all, we have to ask a couple of questions: why you need such a solution, what this is all about, and where you can deploy such a system. So this slide is giving you typically answers for these questions. So we need to improve our workplaces. We need to have less stress. We want to have a more efficiency, especially in group collaboration. So these are typical examples of answers for basic questions: why or what you need to do if you work in a modern office place, and you need to have some new tool to help organizing your time, your meetings, your work time, and so on. So the mainstream of touchONE solutions is going to facilities, office buildings where you can find meeting rooms, shared workplaces, and so on. So overall, our answer for such a demand from the market is a touchONE. So touchONE is dedicated to these solutions, to these environments. And today we are going to stay focused on workplaces and shared workplaces. So going next, here is an example of some virtual office building, one floor of office building, which you may find on many places around the world. And you see that in such a facility, there is a couple of different areas. Bottom left corner is showing you typically entrance area when you are entering the building from the street. So there are some solutions we have prepared within touchONE family. You may benefit from. Behind the lobby area, there is some pool of meeting rooms. And these meeting rooms are typically using our touch panels in front of doors. So you can use this touch panel to tell you what is the status of the room, if the room is available, empty, or occupied because some meeting is in progress inside. And because it's an interactive tool, it's an interactive touch panel, you can use it for organizing your meetings as well. You can use a touch screen, and you can do reservation directly from the screen. But it's not our it's not our subject today. We go next to the right of this virtual building. And you see typically areas like open offices, open space areas in the offices, where is a lot of workplaces, a lot of desks, and many modern organizations they offer as a benefit for their employees home office as a benefit or option or whatever you want to call it. And for many of such workers, they don't have dedicated workplaces, dedicated desks inside their organizations. So in many buildings, you can find open space areas where is the pool of workplaces. And these workplaces, this pool of workplaces should be shared within the group of people. So if you want to have this environment very well organized, it's good that the people are going to do reservation for these workplaces as well, same way like they do for meeting rooms. Maybe they are more skilled with the meeting rooms because it's more popular for several past years, and workplaces, it's just a new topic coming to their everyday life just now. So we are going to talk about this solution for workplace reservation. If you have other view on touchONE family today, on touchONE ecosystem, you can see it's a pretty complex solution. On the top line, typically you see our hardware components, so room panels, touch panels for meeting rooms. Workplace interfaces, you see next to a touch panel, So that's our topic for today. And going to the right, there are some large screen solutions, interactive kiosk, and so on. In the middle, you see that there is some infrastructure you need to have if you want to put or integrate all of this stuff together into the working solution. So it's important to know that we are prepared to be compatible with mostly Microsoft platforms like Office 365. In the past, they changed the name from the beginning of May to Microsoft 365, or their solution, Microsoft Exchange Server. So typically these platforms are broadly used around the globe in corporate sector. And we prepared our touchONE solution being compatible with these platforms. So if you want to connect our workplace reservation or room panels into your network, you definitely need to have also those infrastructures like Office 365. You need to have prepared calendars for the rooms, and our panels are connected to this server, to this infrastructure. There is some new component called touchONE Server. This is a part of our new software we are going to launch within a week or two. So there is a scheduled webinar for next Thursday, and I will be talking about the touchONE Server and a new administration tool called touchONE Admin, which you can see in the bottom line. Next webinar. So today, touchONE ecosystem is growing. We are adding more features, and you also see bottom right corner describing user interface tool, user reservation tool, which will be available for web browsers, for email clients, or Microsoft Teams, or even mobile devices. That's something we are now finishing development. So you will hear more details about this solution very, very, very soon. But going back to the topic of today's webinar, workplace reservation. So if we will start with the introduction here. What you need typically, you need workplaces, and around the workplaces, you have to install some work interfaces. These work interfaces or workplace interfaces are helping you to indicate what is the status of such a workplace. If the workplace is occupied by someone who reserved that workplace in the calendar, or if this is free. So you can do reservation ad hoc, or whatever is happening there. We do have these workplace interfaces now in two different versions. We'll be talking about in more details on the next slides. But technically, you need some unit at the workplace, so you can have a much more comfortable management of such a place. These workplace interfaces are primarily connected to the network, where all other infrastructure is connected to as well. And most of these devices are PoE devices, so you need a PoE infrastructure. You typically PoE switch, which is not a big deal today, because most of the networks in new modern buildings are already PoE switches. They are providing PoE power, as more and more endpoints connected to the network are PoE powered. Apart of these interfaces for workplaces, you also need a unit we call Concentrator. Concentrator, data concentrator, or a touchONE concentrator is an important tool you have to remember, because this is a tool, or this is a device or unit helping us to manage workplace interfaces on one side and talk to the calendar in Office 365 on the other side. The reason of using touchONE concentrator is that workplace interfaces are as small, as cheapest as possible, and they are not prepared. They don't have enough power to talk to shared calendar on Microsoft Exchange Server or Office 365 directly. So Data Concentrator or touchONE Concentrator is something you can call middleware, helping us to manage workplace interfaces on one side and having a communication with the calendars, shared calendars on the other side. If you have a more detailed look, you can understand the philosophy here. So Concentrator is in the middle. On the top, you have your infrastructure, your calendar servers, and at the bottom, you have workplace interfaces. By design, you can manage from one concentrator up to 100 workplace interfaces. So that's important to know and remember this number. So if you are having a bigger office and you need to install more workplace interfaces, you have to count also on more data concentrators. Also important to know here that all of these units must be sitting in the same network, in the same subnet. So if you have some split in your network, and even you will have, for example, 150 workplace interfaces, so the basic rule is telling you, okay, 150 interfaces, I needed 2 concentrators. Well, but they must be sitting in the same network. If you have a network split and you have 4 different subnets, then even for 150 units installed somehow between 4 different subnets, within the 4 different subnets, then you have to consider using 4 the touchONE concentrators. So remember this important rule, and when you do your design, don't forget to check what is the topology of your network. One generation, or both generations of a workplace interfaces are giving you opportunity to show QR code. So the first generation of workplace interfaces is just showing you QR code on the label. I got a question, so I will try to answer it. Can we connect 150 units to one concentrator? Isn't it 100? Answer is, for the same network, you need at least 2 concentrators. So please be careful about that. But if it is not the same network, you need more concentrators based on the rule up to 100 interfaces, but still being okay that in the same network you are not exceeding 100 interfaces. If you have a split of networks, you have a different subnets, you have to add more concentrators. Maybe this topic should be discussed separately if necessary. So going back to presentation and finish this slide, both workplace interfaces, first generation and the new touchONE 4 unit, are giving you opportunity to show QR code, which can be used together with a mobile application, which is available free of charge on a Google Play Store and App Store. And you may download it to your mobile devices, mobile phones and tablets. It's called touchONE app, and this is a tool helping you to do reservation much more comfortable in your mobile devices. If you are close to the workplace, so you can scan QR code, the dialog is prepared for you, and then you can select the time for what you want to reserve such a workplace. So that's a very, very, very great, helpful tool. I show you a little bit more details on one of the next slides. Typically, how all is working, how you can use it. Here are some examples, operation examples. So first, you do reservation from your Outlook. So you go typically to your calendar and you create in your calendar, actually in the calendar of such a workplace, you create an event, you do reservation for this workplace. If the time already started, or if you will hit the time milestone where your reservation is starting, you will see that the interface at the workplace is showing or changing the status from green to red, and the workplace is showing it's occupied. So the red means it's occupied, it's busy. Then you can use it as much as you can, and when you leave the workplace, you can press the button for leaving the place, and then you release the place and it's available for everyone else. And in the Outlook calendar, you can see it's a free, and workplace interface is showing a status in a green, so that means it's available. You can do also ad hoc anonymous reservation from workplace interface directly. So if it is a free, green LED is showing you it's available. You can press the button for reserve, and it will generate, or it will create event in Outlook for your reservation. Then your workplace is occupied. You can do also this reservation via mobile app. I will be showing you later. Here just a brief summary of all components you have to consider and you need to have it prepared for your workplace reservation system. So first of all, you need a Microsoft Office 365 or Office 365, Microsoft 365, whatever you want to call it, accounts for your workplaces, or alternatively, you can have these accounts on Microsoft Exchange server. In your servers, then you have calendars for your workplaces. Typically, each workplace needs one dedicated calendar. It's the same philosophy like for the rooms, and it's not a big deal. I show you details how to go through these settings. Then you need a workplace interface. So typically you may consider using touchONE Desk 55 or a new unit we are launching very soon, touchONE 4, for workplace interface. Then you need a data concentrator or a touchONE concentrator. As you remember, up to 100 workplaces per one concentrator. Some mechanical holders, installation material, and you may consider using mobile app, which is free of charge, and everyone can download it into the mobile device. It's up to you. Now, let's start from the beginning, what you can see on this list. So first, you have to prepare your infrastructure. You have to do configuration on your calendar server. You may use Office 365, Microsoft Exchange. Then when it is prepared, you go to do mechanical installation. You connect all units together. You have to consider, excuse me, you have to consider network authentication if you have some security requirements in your network. It's a typical job of IT people, so IT administrators, they have to say how to deal with such a stuff. You might be using a great software tool, Q Network Scanner. I will be talking about soon. Then we will address also configuration of a touchONE Concentrator, how to prepare a workplace interface if necessary, and how to finish your setup job. So start from the top. First, Office 365 configuration. I said before that every workplace needs to have one calendar account. So you need to have a resource account for every workplace, and this is helping you to manage a calendar for each workplace separately. That's how touchONE works together with Office 365 servers. Here is also important to say that there are some special tools. Here I'm mentioning the tool called Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph is developer platform from Microsoft for connecting different services and devices. We are familiar with the Microsoft Graph in touchONE, and I recommend you to pay attention also on this part of the settings, because it's important if you want to succeed with the configuration of touchONE system. Typically for touchONE workplace reservation solution, if you do configuration with Office 365, you have to consider Microsoft Graph, and you have to pay attention on a setup guide how to do this in your system. If you are not administrator of your system, you have to talk to your administrators. So it depends what your personal role within your organization is. But if you are considering, if you are offering our reservation solution, our workplace reservation solution to your customers, also you have to talk to IT administrators, or the people you are dealing with. They have to start some interaction with the IT administrators, that they know what implementation of such a system is all about. This is important because if you want to do next steps in the setup, you have to prepare credentials for Concentrator setup. And typically you will get a resource account email, you will get a client or application ID, you will get a directory or tenant ID, and you will get also password, which is called client secret. At the bottom of this slide, you see that there is a setup guide we prepared for you guys to tell you how to do this preparation in Office 365 configuration if you want to use Office 365 together with a workplace reservation solution touchONE. So Microsoft Office 365 using Microsoft Graph App Setup Guide is a PDF file which is available on our website on touchone.eu in the resources for download. And I'm also jumping onto this document. So here you can see on your screen the title page of this document, describing what is necessary to do with a Microsoft Graph and Office 365. So going briefly through the details, here is the content. Here you see some requirements. So what kind of Microsoft Office 365 subscription you need to have, what the rights and other requirements you have to follow if you want to do these settings. Then here is a very detailed description that you need to log in Office 365 administration tool, but of course with administrator rights. So you need to be administrator of the system. And then here is the description step by step what you have to follow if you want to prepare your Office 365 for connection from touchONE workplace reservation solution. So in the end of these particular steps, you will get all of these information I mentioned to you before. So you will know what is a client ID, what is a tenant ID, and what is a client secret or password. I strongly recommend that you save all of these details, including account email, in some other place, because it's not easy to get a typically client secret after the setup. Again, from the Microsoft, because it's hidden, it's encrypted. So during these settings, please copy paste all of these IDs and passwords somewhere else, so you can use it later for Concentrator setup. Last but not least, here is the page 10, and I also want to mention this as a very important for you. Here is description saying options for Office 365. For the settings, they are not available through web interface. So please, if you are doing settings on Office 365, read our setup guide to the last page, because here is a maybe description of some small details you might be considering. And if you don't follow instructions from page 10 and you don't have proper settings, the system will probably not deliver your expectation. So read it to the last page and follow also instructions on the page 10. Now, going back to presentation, next option for Office 365 should be Microsoft Exchange. Again, on Microsoft Exchange, on the calendar here, you have to prepare calendars and accounts for every workplace interface in the near future. So you need a user account, you need to be administrator, you are going to prepare more email accounts for workplaces and so on. Again, here we prepared very detailed setup guide, which is called Microsoft Exchange Server Setup Guide. If I jump into this document, it's here. So now you see another PDF document available on our website for download, and it's giving you instructions what is necessary to do in a Microsoft Exchange Server. So again, you go step by step. Here is a description for different Microsoft Exchange Server releases, how to create an account, and so on. It's a very, very, very detailed what to do on touch panels if you have a touch panels. So it's not only for workplace interfaces, but it's also for entire touchONE system, including touch panels for meeting rooms. So please follow these documents, one or another. It depends on what infrastructure you are having, and prepare your accounts for seamless configuration of the rest of the touchONE system. So that's a basic requirement, infrastructure. Now you will get the amount of your units at your workplaces. You have to consider some installation options. We have some basic stuff available. You might be considering to using something else. Any discussion you want to have with us on how to install it in your exact project should be the matter of other discussion with us. We are very open to help you in this way. So it's a mechanical installation. Here is a description how to open the cover or label cover on a desk interface, on workplace interface, first generation. So you have to remove label cover, and typically you will get access to 2 holes for fixing the screws if you are fixing interface to any kind of installation interface, installation adapter. And last step is to place your label with a QR code for such a workplace and install the label cover. Here, one note, I'm going to show you how to prepare these QR codes for workplaces for this first generation of a workplace interface when we are going through the setup of touchONE Concentrator. So remember that if you are doing installation, maybe you are not finishing a mechanical part of installation with the step number 3, because you will insert your label and a label cover a little bit later. Next, about connection. I mentioned at some point you have to connect all units in the same network. If you have a split of networks, if you have different subnets, you have to consider this typically regarding a number of concentrators. But now let's talk for this example about the same network. So you have all interfaces, all workplace interfaces connected via PoE connection, so they are powered via PoE, and to the same network, but not necessarily via PoE port, is a connected concentrator. As well, on this network is access to your infrastructure, to your Office 365 or something else. So that's a hardware connection. If we go next to see configuration steps, typically you connect all units together. It's the same network. You connect also your computer, your laptop, for example, and you may start doing configuration from launching admin web of Concentrator. And there is a couple of options. First, you may use our great tool Q Network Scanner, which will scan entire network and will give you the list of devices available on the network, and you can easily select, oh, okay, Concentrator is here. You double click on the line and admin web for Concentrator will show up in your browser. You may use different techniques for doing this job. You can use a file explorer. It's up to you. When you open admin web, typically there is some default settings from the factory. So Concentrator itself is empty. Reservation suite is not defined. A login is not required, and you can do some basic stuff. So I will be showing you some screens from all of these settings in the next minutes. So first, you have all units connected. You have connected your computer, and on your computer, you have, for example, Q Network Scanner. Q Network Scanner is a great tool. It helps. We call this tool in the past Reservation Suite Scanner. Now we have the latest release from about the mid of March or April. Around that time, we launched this new release, and it helps to search network and search and list all units on the network. This is just an exe file, which is not necessary to install. I got a question, so let's try to answer. Can I scan a specified IP range with the Q Network Scanner? Typically, it depends on what is your NIC. So if you are connected to the network with your network interface, with your NIC, it is scanning all connected NICs. So if you want to scan a specific IP range, it's defined by your connected NICs. So just to give you an example, you may use a wired connection, you may use your wired NIC, so you will have a UTP cable going to your laptop, but at the same time you are connected to Wi-Fi. And when all of these networks, or both of these networks, are active, a Q network scanner is scanning on all active NICs. So if you want to limit, if you want to shorten a little bit your IP range, probably you will do this on your NIC settings, or you will, for example, switch off a Wi-Fi, and then Q network scanner will scan only wired network. It depends on the scenario. So going back to presentation, Q network scanner is a great tool. It's an exe file. You don't need to install it. You can download it and can immediately start to use exe file for network scanner. My pleasure, no problem. What you will get in a Q network scanner, you will get several different columns, and you will get a lot of lines. So columns are showing different parameters of units from a Q family, from touchONE family, or you can see the lines, and lines are giving you the list of all units connected and available and online, powered up on the network. So you will see different units there. Typically, in our case of today's presentation, today's webinar, you will see a lot of workplace interfaces there, and you will see some number of concentrators there as well. Excuse me. Double clicking on any line, you can easily open the admin web for every particular unit. So in our next steps, we are going to talk mostly about the setup for touchONE workplace reservation system, and this is a primary done from a Concentrator. So in your imagination, you can ignore doing settings or setup in a particular workplace interfaces, and you are going to be focused more on concentrators only. What also a Q network scanner can do for you is you can show all units. That means you see not only touchONE reservation family products, you see also Q control system units if they are available on the same network, or you can easily use this Q network scanner to filter only touchONE units or only Q system control units. It's up to you. Here's a lot of options. Also, you can use a copy-paste functionality. Copy-paste functionality is bringing you opportunity that you can select one line or several lines step by step with pressing down the control key, or you can select the first, press down the shift key on your keyboard and select the last line, and you will select the block of devices. You may copy paste with all of the information, what is the model name, IP address, MAC address, serial number, firmware version, and so on. And you can copy paste it, for example, to your Excel spreadsheet. It's up to you. You can also do export to CSV file, which would be sometimes useful. And we also prepared some tutorial describing how to use a Q network scanner. So I will be talking about the tutorials later, but this tutorial is available online on our on the website, and you can go to watch this tutorial to learn more about the Q network scanner, and you will get very excited about using this great tool. So first, also it's important to consider some network authentication if you want to use a IEEE 802.1x authentication. That's a technique very often many organizations are asking for, because they are using this technique for security purposes in their network. So we can probably declare that all of our units are providing such a support. And also it's important to mention application for touchONE concentrator setup, which we are going to see in the next minutes. So what I'm going to do is some practical demo for you to showing you Q network scanner and a concentrator setup. On the other hand, also on this slide at the bottom you see there is a document called touchONE Concentrator Setup Guide, which is a PDF file, again available on our website. You can download, and this PDF file is describing you step by step what is necessary to do in concentrators for concentrator setup. So that's something I'm going to show you briefly in the next minutes. Now, first, I want to show you Q network scanner. So this tool you see now in the middle is a Q network scanner. When you open it for first time, it's immediately going to scan your network, and it will prepare the list. You will get the list of devices connected to your network. If you can work with this as a normal, with any other normal application in Windows. If you are connecting more devices and they are not listed here, you can hit the refresh button, and it's repeating the scanning process again. So if you added more devices after first run of a Q network scanner, you can hit this button and it will scan again, and you will see some other devices added onto the list of all devices available on the network. So that's a Q network scanner. You see here is a magic name, here is a model name, IP address, and some other information, firmware version, serial number, MAC address, and so on. And here is the filter if you want to show all units, all Q units available on the network, or only touchONE units dedicated to reservation system. So I can easily shorten the list because not all units are dedicated to touchONE. So here you see units dedicated to touchONE. If I show all, I will get one more unit, which is a controller for control system. Otherwise, I can say show only control system units, and you will get opposite result. You will see only control units available on my network. So that's a great tool. I strongly encourage all of you using that. Download it. It's free of charge. Download it from our website. Download it later today from the link I will send you in a follow-up email, and use it as much as you can. It's a great tool. It's not a secret. It's good tool also for lazy people. If you don't want to copy paste or type manually IP address into the web browser, you can easily go here and you can say, okay, now I'm going to do setup in Concentrator. So you select the line and you double click on the line, and immediately your web browser is open with the first title page of admin web for Concentrator. So you don't need to type here in address line your IP address. That's really great, and I love to use a Q network scanner. So here, if the unit is in default mode from the factory, from manufacturing, you will see immediately the screen. Logout will be used if you have password protection later after your setup. So typically you may start doing some units configuration here. That's a typical admin web for our devices we are having in touchONE family products. So here you can see configuration where you can consider the name, magic name of the unit, IP settings, and also authentication if you need is standard for security, for security reasons. So that's the place where you have to put all of the settings. You can also do some hardware setup about the time, if it is synchronized to internet clock and so on. And that's also the place where you can do some upgrade of a firmware if necessary. But the major part is if you go to the menu, if you go to main page, and here is the application on the left side called administration. So administration is the place where you do setup for Concentrator when you are doing commissioning, when you want to finish touchONE installation workplace solution, and you want to put everything into the operation. So the first step is here, first page is setup, so you can easily put here the name of your project. It should be, I don't know, office building. In my case, it's a demo case because it's my personal demo case I'm using for my demo purposes. Here is the password. It's up to you what password you will use. If the password is too short, the system will tell you that you need to improve your password, that it's robust enough and your system is secured enough. And also here is the place where you can do backup and restore if you want. So you can backup your settings to the file, and this should be used for later purposes as a backup. Or if you install a new unit and you want to do opposite procedure, you are going to restore your setup from existing file. Typically you press this button and you restore settings from the file. Also, here is the place where you can download statistics from your workplace reservation system for some later use in visual tool like Power BI, or I don't know, Microsoft PowerPoint, or whatever you want to use. So you can download a CSV file, and in this CSV file you will see a lot of details. These details will help you to show in visual tool some statistics in visual form to give you some overview what was the usage of your system in the past. So typically you can see that you had, I don't know, 90% of workplaces used within a period of last year or last month. It depends on a filter you will apply on such amount of data. But this is a tool helping you to give some results, so you know how often your system is used, by whom, and you can consider this in future discussions about extension of your system or reduction. It depends on the situation. Here you go, after the title page, you go to next step from the left to the right. So the next page is, or next tab is called servers. Servers is the place where you are adding Office 365 or Exchange account. So if you have an Exchange account, you can say it's my Exchange. It's up to you what name you will use. Then you select the Exchange. At the moment, there is only Exchange because Office 365 can be only once in the settings, and I am already using Office 365, so I cannot select more than Exchange option here. And here is important to say what is a Exchange server IP address, and if you are using proxy server or not. Then you can use a test that the communication with the server is flowing. There is no technical issue, and when you are done, you can save it to your servers list. For sure, in my case, this was just an example, and there is no such a server existing, so I will probably delete it from my demo today, and I will leave just my Office 365 here. Any server you have added here on the list, you can also edit later. So here you can check, okay, here is my server, here is the server type, and I can test the communication. Okay, my Concentrator is already talking to Office 365. That's fantastic. If you do any other changes in configuration, you can add more, you can delete it. It's up to you. Very easy. And definitely, if you will not forget from our today's webinar, from my presentation, there is a PDF file with a very detailed description, so no worries. You will always find a tool how to go step by step through all of these parts in the setup. Next step, service accounts, is telling you what a service account or what directory ID, application ID, and a secret you will use. So you may remember when we were describing Microsoft Graph and basic settings in Office 365, I said you will get the client ID, tenant ID, and client secret. So I also recommended that you are storing somewhere on extra place all of these three important credentials. So here is the place in a service account section when you are entering, when this new setup is prepared here. So typically here you can say, okay, it's our webinar, that's up to me. Server type, I can say it's Office 365, and here I will use my client ID. Here I will use username for existing account, and then password for existing account, and client ID, tenant ID, and client secret. These the last three lines are the credentials you stored before doing when you were doing settings in Office 365 and Microsoft Graph. First two lines, username and password, it's an email address typically. So username is an email address, and the password is the password for this account, typically represented by email address. So that's how you will edit new. If I go back to my existing settings here, I can open it, and you see that's some name I prepared, what kind of server type, and some other details, but mostly password and client secret is hidden because I don't want to show it directly. Oops. Now you see that something is wrong with my settings because I'm not using a username here, but I guarantee you that it's already stored in my settings here. So I can go to next sections, and you will see how that works in my system. So next step in Concentrator is the timetables. Timetables. Why timetables? Timetables. It's an optional tool we prepared here, helping you to define some time slots or timetables, if you want, for typically working shifts during the day, because in many organizations they are using a morning shift, an afternoon shift, or maybe later evening shift. So here is the opportunity that you can add that, for example, your morning shift will be from 7 till, I don't know, 12. Then you can prepare from 1 p.m. till 5 p.m. And that's the way how you prepare some time blocks or time slots. You can save it. You can put it name as you wish, for example, webinar. You can save it, and here you will get the list of all timetables you prepared. What you immediately see on this list is that for webinar exists a timetable only for Monday and not other days. So if you use this timetable webinar, it will be applicable only for Monday, and you can have whatever else for other days. So typically my default one here is to prepare for typically working week for Monday through Friday. So you see that for each day I have a morning slot and afternoon slot. Morning slot is from 8 to 12 to noon. Afternoon is 1 p.m. through 5. So that's one scenario, but you might have multiple scenarios. It's up to you, up to the organization in up to the organizational stuff inside your company. Then next tab is about the resources. So here is the place where you have to add more details to your service account. So here you can say, okay, I want to have workplace 1, workplace 2. I want to have a workplace 3, etc. For each workplace, you assign email account you prepared before for Office 365 or Exchange Server. Then you know what is the service account, what is the server, some extra settings, and if you are using Timetable. You can add, of course, more resources. It's up to you. So if you have one more, you can say it's called Webinar 1. You know, there is some email address. It should be webinar at somethingqsystem.com. You continue with server assignment, extra settings, and you can save it. And here at the bottom is up to you if you use Timetable or not. You can uncheck the box here, and you can say reservation time. Typically, when you do ad hoc reservation from the button on the interface, will be for 60 minutes. This value can be changed. I can change it to 90 minutes or just half an hour. It's up to you. If I'm not putting here this number of minutes, this value, and I will check instead Timetable, and I say, okay, I use the default Timetable and I will save it, you know that in default Timetable, typically on Monday, or actually today is a Tuesday. On Tuesday, the morning slot is 8 to 12. So whenever you are going to workplace interface within this period of time or prior of this period of time, immediately you will get reservation booking till 12. So that's the rule. I will be describing a little bit more details in next slides of the presentation. So going back to Concentrator, Concentrator settings, when you have finished your workplace interfaces, you have added all workplace interfaces here, you go to assign physical units connected on the network. So here you see that I have 3 different interfaces. First 2 are about touchONE Desk 55, but one is connected. First line, the second line was historically added into the configuration, but later removed, and it's not connected. So that's why you see it's not online here. And for each of such an interface, you can edit more details. So you can say what is the magic name. You can select for which account, which resource this unit will be used. You can say if the button beep will be enabled, what is the volume of this beep on the button, and you see some other details about the interface. Here you can also see I have connected to my demo case a new unit touchONE 4. I will be telling you more details in a minute, but it's connected, it's working with the workplace 1. and everything is configured. Just this pop-up window for editing units parameters is slightly different than for touchONE Desk 55, because you can have more settings here. And when you finish here, the last step, your system is ready and you can use it for workplace reservation environment. So as you remember, important to prepare infrastructure, to prepare Office 365, user accounts, passwords, and so on. And then you can go through this Concentrator setup step by step, and it will help you to finish your job. So now going back to our presentation, here is a little bit description of time slots and timetables. So you may remember I was mentioning timetables in Concentrator setup, and here is a little bit description how it works. So typically timetables are describing some reservation plans, like a morning shift, afternoon shift, or whatever else, or full day. It depends on a wish of your organization. It depends on a wish of a user of such a system. Typically, here every timetable is dedicated for 1 week, including weekend. You might have, if you think about these time slots in timetable, you might have up to 6 time slots per day. So I said, as an example, you may have morning shift, you may have afternoon shift in your company, but the maximum number is 6 time slots per day, not only 2, but up to 6, but not 10. Also, minimum requirement for time slot is half an hour. In my example here on the slide, you see I use this 2 time slots per day. I have a morning shift and afternoon shift, and it's interesting to see what will happen when you do reservation from a workplace interface in different moments. So the picture on the right side of this slide is giving you some idea how that works. So if you are using a timetable with a time slot and you press the button, ad hoc button, on workplace interface, for example, 8:30, you see that immediately interface will change the status from green to red and will remain in red as occupied as a reserve till end of current time slot. The bottom part of this picture is telling you what will happen if you press the ad hoc reserve button prior start of upcoming time slot. So for example, at 12:15, you press the reserve button on workplace interface, and immediately your interface will change the status from green to red, but will remain occupied or in a red color till end of upcoming time slot, so till 4 p.m. So that's the logic we prepared here. I go back to Concentrator setup to show you one more great feature. So if I go back to my admin web and I'm back to Concentrator setup, you can go back to resources. And in resources, when you are adding workplaces and exact account names and so on, here is one more magic button we added to firmware version 20 and all newer releases. And this magic button is helping you to create labels for touchONE Desk 55. So when I click on this button, you see there is a dialog saying, okay, create labels. And here you can check show QR code or no. When I uncheck the box and I click download, you will get a PDF file. and PDF file is prepared to be printed as a label on laser printer. So you can print it, these labels on laser printer, and then with with your scissors, you can cut off this label, and you can place it on a desk or workplace interface. If you want to use a QR code, you go back to the dialog here and you check the box, or you leave it in a default value. You download it again, you will get a new PDF file, and new PDF file will also generate QR code for you here. So this is a technique how you will prepare multiple QR codes, and each QR code is dedicated to exact workplace. So in a QR code is hidden details, or details you need to have for using your mobile app, touchONE app. So that's the place where in resources, with the help of a create label, you can generate these QR codes labels for your desk interfaces. Going back to the presentation, you see that the QR code on the label is placed somewhere in the middle, a little bit down. As over QR code, there is a workplace display name. Here is a typical value or typical size of label you can use for touchONE Desk 55 interfaces. When you print out this prepared PDF file, it's prepared for A4 format, and in A4 format it will print out exactly this size, 48.8 millimeters by 25.8 millimeters. So you can use just your scissors, and you can get out your labels for your workplace interfaces. Bottom part of this slide is describing what you have hidden in a QR code. So that's all you need for using a mobile application. But much easier way how to generate QR code exactly for your project. You are using this magic button in resources during Concentrator setup. So going next. Here is a description of touchONE Desk 55 interface. So LED bar on the top showing you typically green or red color, depending on the status. Middle part is dedicated to a QR code, or if you want a custom label for interface. And the bottom part is about extra indicators and the buttons for ad hoc reservation or leaving the place. Next slide is describing a little bit the different situations, what is happening with the LEDs, depending on different scenarios. If it is a completely free, you see there is a permanent green, workplace is a free, a button leave has a no function, and button reserve has some functionality. So when you press the button reserve, it will do ad hoc reservation based on settings in your concentrator. So for example, for half an hour, or if you are using timetables, then it will be responding exactly the same way like I described in my slide with the timetables. Next lines are describing more what is happening in different scenarios. I will skip it now today to save a little bit more time, as we are having 15 minutes left in our webinar today. Next, I want to share with you today is a touchONE app. touchONE app, as I said, is available on App Store for Apple devices or Google Play Store for Android devices. So download it. It's a free of charge. When you have installed this app on a mobile device, you need to put your credentials, so your personal account name and your password. and then you can scan typically QR code on workplace interface. This will help you to open the dialog for reservation with all pre-filled details, like what is the name of workplace, what is the email account of a workplace, and then you can just select, okay, I want to reserve this workplace for tomorrow from 9 a.m. So you select the time, and then you send a request to Office 365 or Exchange Server, and the system will prepare everything for you. So if it is a reservation enough in advance, you will receive an email with a confirmation. If the place is not available for your demanded time slot, you will receive an email with a rejection saying that the place is not available, so you have to consider using a different place. If you are doing reservation from your mobiles, but it's ad hoc, immediately you can see the result on the interface because it will change the status from green to red. Now, new device, touchONE 4. touchONE 4 is very, very close to launch date, and we are very, very happy about to have finished the development of this tool. That's a new option for workplace interface, so you may consider using touchONE Desk 55 or new touchONE 4. The basic difference is it's a completely different design. It's a plastic enclosure. You can install it in many different positions, and it's a touchscreen. It's a touchscreen, so you might get more information on the screen than what is giving you just a basic interface. So a brief description of the unit. It's a color LCD over 4-inch size. There is a LED bar on the top of the unit. It's a PoE device, Ethernet class, so you can connect it directly to the network, and you need a PoE power to power this unit. And also there is integrated NFC reader you can use for NFC cards if you want to have authentication on these workplace interfaces. So that's a typically some extra feature over a basic interface, which is not equipped with an NFC reader. So NFC reader is available here. And you can install it in many different scenarios. I'm going to show you some short video, which will be available also for download later. And this video is showing you typically screens and how to operate with the touchONE 4. So please be polite if the audio coming to your speakers is not superior, because it should be the software hardware result of my computer here today. But later, when you will download the video, you will definitely get high quality sound describing all of these steps. So enjoy the video.
touchONE 4 is a cost-effective unit with simplified functionality for workplace booking.
D'accord, laisse tomber, ça sert à rien ce que tu fais.
So no worries about audio quality if you didn't hear very well, because it should be, you know, the setup issue of today. Setup of my equipment here. If you will download this video later today from my follow-up email link, or if you will watch it on a website, in our tutorials, you can get a much better sound track as well. What is important to mention here, probably if you paid attention enough, you may remember there were some differences in the screen layout, because typically the renders used in the video at the beginning are a little bit older, and we prepare them at some point during development. But the most recent design of the screens is in the end of the presentation, when you have the direct view on the screen. There is no render of the unit. Typically, if I show you in the slide, bottom part is changed during the development. So these renders on the slide of the presentation are having no touchONE logo, and it's not grayed out, and the date is in the right bottom corner. You may remember in a video, second half of video, the date is somewhere in a middle section. And also there is a slight adjustment with this bar on the top. So these pictures are not having green from the left of the display to the right, but they are a little bit shorter. But you may remember in my video, the last or the most recent designs of the screens are having a longer green bar to the left and to the right. So don't be confused from that. It's the reason of a development, and the most valid today are the versions you can find in a video in a second half in the end, or not these renders of entire unit. As soon as we have completely finished this polishment inside software development, we will also update all of these videos and renders. So no worries about it. Just about this important information, and you will not be confused what design is valid. So now going slowly to the end, I was using in my demo presentation today my lovely demo Q2 demo case. So I love to repeat it to everyone who is watching our webinars. It's a great tool we prepare for demo purposes, which can show and demo easily our touchONE family solutions, as well as some simple setup solution for control system. So you see here in the slide, this small part is dedicated to simple setup. Everything else is touchONE family. So you can use and you can demo touchONE kiosk application. You have a touch panel. you have 2 workplace interfaces and some extra units like a concentrator or a manager and so on. In my case, you may remember that when I checked the units connected, I got 3 units, but my case was already upgraded here from touchONE Desk 55 to new touchONE 4. So that's why old touchONE Desk 55 is still existing in my configuration file, but also new touchONE 4 is added into my Concentrator setup. We plan to do this upgrade for all customers. They are demanding a new demo Q2, and they will say we want to have also touchONE 4 unit there. As well, we may offer this upgrade to all existing users of demo Q2. It's a great tool. It's very, very helpful. It's very handy. I love to use it when I'm driving my car, for visiting customers. And it's also handy. You can take it on board, and you can fly wherever you want with this case. It is immediately ready to be used when you are entering the door, so you don't need a long time for preparation. You just open the lid. You need a power outlet on the wall, and you need to power up the units and establish a connection to internet, for example, for your Office 365 account connection. And all of this setup may take 1, 2, 3 minutes max, and you can start doing demo for your customers. So that's a really, really helpful and recommended tool you may use in your efforts. Of course, for all details we were talking about today, we have prepared a lot of documents. So presentation I used today is going to be shared with you in a follow-up email as well. We have some design guides, we have setup guides, data sheets, and so on. These materials are available for download on our touchone.eu website dedicated to reservation system. So you see at the bottom of this slide web address, but also you may download those files focused on workplace reservation solution from the link in my follow-up email today. As always, last but not least, we are in process to preparing more and more tutorial videos. Some of them are already prepared for touchONE. Some of them are prepared also for some other topics. I strongly recommend to you that you are checking these tutorial videos, which may help you to learn more or to understand some unclear detail about settings in our units. Typically, here are direct web addresses, direct links you can use, or you can get there through education section on our qsystem.com website. If you go to education, first you will get is a video, and in video there is a link to tutorials for QVisual Composer or touchONE or anything else. As well, you can go to internet section where you can register for our upcoming trainings or webinars. So slowly going to the end. As I see there is no other question, I will save your time today. So please, oh, I got one question. Okay, is there any development of an API so we can connect to the Concentrator and get the status of touchONE units and send it to building management applications? That's not working exactly like that today. There is an API. There's an API prepared for communication with our control system at the moment. So the easiest integration is with our control system, and our control system can be the bridge to other building management applications. If there will be, let's say, strong demand, we may consider to develop API for for some exact building automation application. So today, to be honest, such application does not exist yet. How the NFC is supposed to work at the unit? Typically, if you will try to have some dialogue on the unit on touchONE 4, because only touchONE 4 is dedicated to be used with the NFC, you will not have the chance to do any reservation on touchONE 4 unit without authentication. So the plan is that you have to use your NFC card. So you need to use some NFC card, which will be approving you that you are authorized user and you can use a touchONE 4 interface for reservation. And this will also help the system recognize that the reservation directly from interface was done by you. So this technique is bringing more accurate details to reservation environments. So you cannot do anonymous reservation from the interface like with the basic interface you can. So the idea is if you will have NFC deployed, definitely you have to use an NFC card, otherwise you cannot do any reservation from interface. So when you check in, interface will recognize, oh, okay, it's you, John. So now you can do reservation, and every reservation done from the interface touchONE 4 will be officially listed in a calendar as a reservation done by you, John. That's the idea. Next question. There is any user reports? Yes, that's statistics. So you can export the data to CSV file, and you can use them to feed your Power BI or Microsoft PowerPoint template. And this template can help you to visualize all of this information. So you know, for example, that, I don't know, Peter was using this place 200 times in last year. Or John was using the same workplace just 4 times in last year. Such information you can get out of the system, and you can use this statistic data for doing any analysis or visual presentation. Next question. Will you cover the touch panel configuration next time? I may consider that. That should be extra webinar for touchONE configuration, or I strongly recommend you go to check our tutorials, because one tutorial video for touchONE is giving you step-by-step guide how to do setup on the touch panel. So if you watch this 7 minutes approximately video, you will get a more guide what is necessary to do in a touch panel. If you have a new touch panel and you want to connect it to your server and you want to use it. Hope I got no problem. My pleasure. Hope I answered your questions. If you will get into your mind some extra other question, please send me an email or send an email to our webinar group email address, webinar@qsystem.com. As well, this email address is used for any other feedback regarding webinars or ideas or what you want to get from us. So any input from your side is highly appreciated, because it will help us to think about what the next webinar should cover. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your time today, and wish you a great rest of the day, or great day, or whatever time zone you are in at the moment, and hope to see you soon on some other webinar I'm going to prepare for you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.